different to think about math versus statistics. Poor 105 students yesterday, they walked in and got a taste of it off the bat. I filled up my water bottle at the one of those autofill stations that are all over campus now, and it said 6,744. Oh, what's that? And it says this machine has saved 6,744 bottles from being recycled, essentially, by taking my hydro flask and filling it up with 20 ounces or whatever this is of water. It went up to 6,743 to 6,744. And I walked into class and I'm like, how many bottles do you think they saved all over the entire campus? And the kids are like, oh my God, dude, it's the first day. It's the first thing I asked them when I walk in the room. I was like, no, seriously, how many do you think? They're like, oh God, I don't know. And I'm like, well, how many machines are on campus? And we just kept asking these questions. And about 5 minutes in, they're like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. And we ended up figuring out how much, we guessed 80,000 bottles. Is it 60?
I thought it was like 60.
We guessed 80. God damn, that's pretty good. So we said 80 because we assumed 10 machines, about 8,000 bottles each. We called it 80,000. So that's not bad. So we'll go with 80.
Yeah, because some of the doors, like in the science building, they've only done like 4,000.
Exactly, but the campus center building's got like 12 or 13 because of the cafeteria. Excellent, excellent. We were not that bad with our estimate. That was good. And then I said, well, where would you put all those bottles? Which raised the question, how big would it be to put 80? What would 80,000 bottles look like?
That big floating trash thing out in the ocean. You know, that big,
good vote.
just like that.
We had all kinds of votes. One student said it would fill Modoc Hall. One student said, hell no, I want to fill the downstairs of Modoc Hall. One student said, hell no, I want to fill this classroom. So we did some quick calculations. Nothing above what we're going to do right now in about a minute and a half. And we calculated that it would fill roughly 2/3 of one classroom. That's what 80,000 bottles, if you packed them in real tight, would fill. And if you dumped them out, it would fill even less, because it would spread out, well, assuming the room's watertight, which let's not push that. But that's the kind of math you do. It's not crazy math, but it's that, I love to hear that it was about 60, because we guessed around 80, and that's not, it's off by a factor of 20,000. I mean, that's a lot, but it's not much when you make the assumptions we were making. And you can always refine those assumptions. It's the kind of assumptions I made when I said, if we turned off all the computers on all of COCC's campuses every night, we'd save $45,000 a year. That's fact. Using current electricity rates, if you turn them all off instead of putting them into hibernation mode, $45,000 a year. I put that on staff comments. It caused a riot. That's not true. Actually, it's mathematics, so I'm pretty sure it is. So here's some more. Here's some more. It's called fact checking. It's called fact checking. I'm gonna let you guys fact check. This is an old one, but I love it. And believe it or not, it happens all the time in the news. Katie Couric, well, her first night at CBS Evening News, I don't even think she's on CBS Evening News anymore, reported in 2005, there was an appalling number of food poisonings in U.S. schools. 733 kids got sick from food poisoning in U.S. schools. It's appalling. I don't want any kids getting sick, obviously. And the 733 was big red number cracked worms. They had video clips of rats running out of dumpsters behind. I used to wash dishes in a cafeteria. I challenge anyone to find a restaurant without a rat in it. It just doesn't exist. So anyway, I said, God, that's awful. That's got to be terrible. So I said, let me quantify that. Because 733, I need to know how big that is comparatively speaking. You know, like I think we know what $45,000 looks like. Maybe we don't. Maybe we should take a look at that later too. But I went to the CDC, Center for Disease Control, their website. 76 million people get sick every year in the U.S. from food poisoning. Holy crap, that's ludicrous. I didn't realize that. That's much bigger than I thought it was going to be. And then I said, wait a minute, that's way bigger than that, but let me see if I can kind of weight it. So then I said, all right, there's about 300 million Americans-ish, ballpark. About 3 meals a day. 3 meals a day. I ballparked. I hope that's okay with you guys. So I said the rate of food poisoning is therefore, that's 76 million over 300 million times 3 times 365 for 365 days a year. Is that fair math? I mean, I'm making some assumptions. Can you guys live with those assumptions? Does that seem roughly fair? So the rate of food poisoning is about 2 in 10,000. 1 in 5,000, which roughly means that out of every 5,000 meals eaten in America, 1 of them results in a food poisoning. That's what that means. Okay? Anybody ever had food poisoning? I haven't, but there we go. If we take combined totals of us, I'm guessing we're close to that rate. There we go. 1 in 5,000. So I said, God, the kids must be a hell of worse than that, right? So let's find out. Let's go back. And U.S. Census Bureau says there were 75.8 million children in school in that 2005. Assuming that they're in school 180 days, and assuming they're only eating one meal. I'm guessing they're only eating lunch. I'm going to make that assumption. That might be wrong. Maybe they eat breakfast and lunch, but that would just make this number even more ridiculous. So the rate of food poisoning in schools is that 733 over that. Well, look at that. It's 5 in, we'll see what that is. It's a thousands. It's 5 in, what is that, 100 million? Which means it's 4,000, you're 4,000 times less likely to get sick in a school than you are in the general population. Which makes me ask Katie, why don't we just go to the schools and eat our lunches there? Because apparently they get sick less than we do. You see the 733? 733, terrible, terrible. Jeb Bush, when he was governor of Florida, used a similar argument to try to make motorcyclists use helmets again. There used to be a mandatory helmet law in Florida. And they said, you know what, if you want to not wear a helmet when you ride a motorbike, that's totally fine. And what they did was they revoked the law, and you could stop wearing helmets again. And then the next year, 412 people, I think, died as a result of motorcycle crashes. And Jeb was like, you see, that's what I'm talking about right there. You take that helmet law away, and all of a sudden people start dying left and right. We're going to have ambulances on every corner. What he failed to notice was that the number of people that rode motorbikes also went up very, very much in the time period he was talking about, and actually fewer people as a percentage had died in the year after they revoked helmets. More people by number, but fewer people by percentage. And that's a common media trick. It's a very, very common media trick. Use an absolute number instead of weighting it with a percentage. This class will teach you when you should use either. Because you should use some sometimes and some others. This is a textbook case though, and Jeb's a textbook case of when you should use percentages. Rates versus a raw number. Very, very important. Kind of cool. Not much math, huh? Hardly any math, actually. Precious little math. But important math nonetheless. Important math nonetheless. All right. This is one of my favorites. This came across my Facebook page last year. I love it. I don't know what the hell it's trying to tell me, but I love it. 2011 deaths, go! Yes, 496 killed by hammers. 650 by steak knives.
Well, but technically the 323 shouldn't be by the gun, it should be by the person.
Okay, I'm good. Is it by that gun too, or is it by all guns?
Well, it's be all people.
And my question is it automatic weapons, or is it all like handguns, pistols?
It could be any gun.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I think it could be.
Because one thing that's definitely missing with this is any kind of a source that tells me what the hell they got these numbers from.
Yeah.
195,000 by medical malpractice. Okay, all these numbers. Now, let's assume the numbers are correct, because I have no reason to think they're anything but correct. If somebody cares enough to make a picture on a computer. Let's assume they're correct for the sake of argument. You are 600 times more likely to die by using your Obamacare. Timeout. Where did Obamacare come into this? This is before Obamacare was even implemented. But somehow, Obamacare became part of this. Now, I like what they're doing with it. The 600 times more likely to die using Obamacare. I kind of like the fact that they're at least multiplicatively looking at the number of deaths here versus that. But what I don't like is the fact that they're ignoring the percentages on each of those cases. Forget the Obamacare, because that's not a political argument. 325 people were killed by guns. How many guns are out there? How many guns were fired in 2011? That's a question that needs to be asked. 496 by these. Okay, were they murders or were they accidents? I mean, the guy that built my house shot himself through the leg with a nail gun. You hit the femoral artery? That could end your life. Femoral's in the leg, right? Yeah. Okay, right. That ends your life quickly, right? Quickly. 650 by these. Again, accidental murders. Are they murders? Medical malpractice. Drunk drivers, terrible. I'm not trying to make light of that situation. But medical malpractice, 195,000 are killed by medical malpractice. What's a medical malpractice? Define that for me. And how many were helped by medicine and not hurt by it? You're missing that percentage part, right? Like we're talking about with the 733, you're missing the relative weight. Yes, this number is greater than that number. But my guess is that there were more people helped by medical professionals than were stabbed by knives. I'm guessing. I'm guessing. So you're not getting a complete picture. You're not getting it, but so beware of this stuff. Beware of these kinds of things coming across your pages. All right. So here's some numbers I've actually collected that I think are kind of staggering statistically and also just as human beings. 100 species on Earth become extinct every day if you actually average it out. If you actually average it out. I've got the sources coming down here at the bottom. So just check, actually I'm not going to read it to you, guys check them out. You see, which ones resonate with you? There's your torch list down here. And I know I've mixed up some words, million, billion, trillion. I've done that intentionally. You should, well, we'll talk about why that's important later. Which ones resonate with you? Which ones resonate? Please.
Facebook.
Facebook. Third biggest country on earth. Third biggest country behind China and India by population. Look at that. In the time it took you to read that sentence, they uploaded 5,000 photos. It's amazing. That just a network. And how many of them were cats in your dinner? What else? Anybody I know we're Americans, but is anybody blown away by this? 1 billion people watched the same sporting event. That's 1 person out of every 7 on the planet. At that time, I think it was 1 person out of every 6.6 on the planet. Does that? Any soccer fans? Maybe one of you?
A lot of people that since I learned it last year.
Yeah! Isn't that mind-boggling? Think about the entire planet. Now, every 6th person turning the same thing on their television. This is not the Super Bowl, which is like watched by 10 million people. This is I watched a video of a tribe in Africa huddled around a TV hooked to a car battery in a swamp, watching Zidane headbutt the Italian guy, Messi, when he called his mother whatever he called her, and get red carded in his last game. That was 1 billion people watching that game. You're not as excited as I am about this. That's okay.
The rest of the world loves soccer, and us here was baseball, football, basketball. I mean, we like soccer, but it's not as big. So, of those billion people,
It's 1 billion!
how many were actually aware?
I don't care if you're American or European, the number is 1 billion! That doesn't blow you away. That blows me away. I understand I understand that, but it's 1 billion people. Okay, we'll move on. We'll come back to the national. Anyway, these are numbers that I think stand alone even without percentages. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple things here. I want you to kind of take them in. It's basic descriptive statistics, just the kind of stuff you read in newspapers. This is a couple years ago's report from the Broadside. It's coming up again. Tuition raises are never looked favorably upon by students or anybody for that matter at schools. People like tuition to be low. I do too, because it makes it affordable for you guys, but it becomes necessary sometimes to raise tuition to cover bills and things like that. So this was a $4 per credit tuition hike next school year. I forget, this might have been like 2010, 2011, I forget exactly when. So anyway, this is just the article that went with it. And here's the graph that came along with it from the Broadside. Anything wrong with it?
Compared to what?
Say that again?
Compared to what? Like what are
But just compared to itself?
How do you even read it? Like
Oh!
okay.
Okay, Sarah, go with that. Go with that. What do you mean? When you say that, what do you mean?
Like you see 528 and 560.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's like, okay, it went up, but population went up, bills went up.
Okay,
but
let's
cost of
assume,
living went up.
I love what you're saying. Let's forget inflation, because this is last year versus this year. It's such a quick turnover, we can ignore inflation, although I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying about inflation. You should always adjust for inflation when you're talking about money amounts over time. You have, this is why I get so frustrated when they talk about the new blockbuster movie that came out last summer. You know what? Compare it to Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, from 1977, and adjust that for inflation, and it's nowhere even close. But nobody ever does that, so good for you. But we can ignore that now because it's only 1 year.
Okay.
Please, tell me your name.
Nicole.
Nicole, go.
Didn't it say it was only about $4?
It did! What's the problem? It shows $4. Well, it's $4 per credit. So 4 times 8 is 32. 32 more than 28 is 560, right? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Janelle, is that what you bothered you too?
No.
No.
I was going to say that there's no reason to put 8 credits, 12 credits, 16 credits.
That's kind of silly, although the graphic does, it's nice. It makes me get pissed because now I'm spending so much more money. But I'm pissed for a different reason. Nicole, you said this is $32, yes?
Yeah.
I mean, according to this is 528, that's fine. This is $32 more. So that equals $32. Is there a problem? Go ahead, tell me your name too.
That's not consistent.
Steve, what's the problem with that being $32?
It's not representative of the actual value. I mean,
If this is 32 bucks, what does this look like? What does that look like?
$90, $100.
Like 90? I went ahead and made him a new graph.
Yeah.
And I emailed him the Broadside. This began the love affair of being the Broadside. They now adore me for checking their math and their statistics. That's the correct graph. What did they do? Now, I'm not saying they did it maliciously, because they didn't. What did they do by making the graph look like that?
They made it look like a bigger.
They made it look like a very, very steep increase. This happens all the time in media. All the time in media. When you start the axes down at 0, it's perfectly represented. Perfectly represented. If you truncate the axis like they did right about here, you exaggerate the differences. You exaggerate the differences. That difference of $32 is only spread over 100. Well, that's a huge difference. But when you spread $32 over 500, that's a tiny little difference, yes? So be careful when you're consuming statistics as such. Make sure you're not only sourcing it, but also making sure it's being represented in a correct way. Yes, please. For the sake of all of us and our mental health. All right, here's another one that I love. Correlation does not imply causation. This does crop up from time to time. Give you a simple example. Here's a fact. It's studied. Ice cream sales are strongly correlated with crime rates. When I say correlated, I mean that they occur together. Ice cream sales, when they go up, crime rates go up. Okay, so clearly, stop selling ice cream if you want to solve the crime problem in America. Stop selling ice cream. Why? No! Don't stop selling. I don't want to stop selling ice cream either. My son gets so excited with it. It is funny, and it's a ridiculous statement. It's a ridiculous statement. But similar ridiculous statements are made all the time. Like, for example, you should take my LSAT, my LSAT prep course, because the average of those taking my course is significantly higher than the average of those not taking your course. So therefore, take the course, right? Because if you take the course, your average is going to go higher. No, not necessarily. What if the people taking the course are so driven and self-motivated, they're just better students in general, even with or without the course, they do better? See what I'm saying? This is a ridiculous example, of course, but it ties to it does, right? So what else could explain this correlation?
Temperature?
Maybe temperature? Maybe when they sell ice cream more, it's hotter, therefore...
People get crazy.
Oh, people get grumpy, people get crazy. Ooh.
I live in Arizona, it's 100.
Oh, Arizona!
Me too.
You guys are all insane down there.
Crazy.
I was just thinking, you go outside more, you leave your doors open more. I mean, it just says crime, right? Crime rates. It doesn't say violent crime. You leave your back door open because my son runs in, goes in the pond, catches a fish, runs back in, the back door's open for all night. When he walks in, hey, back door's open, hey, guitar amp. I mean, who knows? Who knows? There's other variables besides the ice cream. Okay, good. Let's test with another one here. You got that one. This is a fun one. I like this one. Oh, it's not fun. It's just interesting. What? Like that?
What? Oh my god, yeah.
Girls are crazy.
Teenage daughters. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
yeah,
I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying this is the data. The source on this one is Stephen Levitt from a book called Freakonomics. It's a wonderful little read if you haven't got a chance to read that. A couple of nods back there. Freakonomics, great little book. He's got everything sourced in there if you want to check it out. If you have daughters, should you worry about divorce? Because parents of daughters are more likely to divorce than parents of sons, which means essentially that if you track the data, which I think Levitt did, the number of daughters in the family, as the number of daughters in the family goes up, or was it percentage of females in the family? I forget what it was. Either number of, well, I guess both. The divorce rate went up with it. So the presence of females implied a correlation to an increase in divorce rate. So, should I be stoked because I have one son? You have one of each? Should you be more worried because you have one more girl than I do?
Yeah, she's at risk.
She's according to Levitt, yes? So here's my question. It was very easy to nail the ice cream crime rate, right?
Yeah.
So what could possibly be driving, is it the girls driving the divorce? Please! Amy.
Population.
Go ahead.
Are there more girls than...
Not statistically significant. I love this. I love this. There's more girls than boys. Statistically, it's arguable. At most, it's 1 percentage point of difference, and I don't even think that's arguably statistically significant. But if there are more girls than boys statistically significantly, there's an argument was given to me by a previous student that would actually agree with that and also explain this, believe it or not. So where were you going with that? You said there's more girls. You're just saying by the distribution of the divorce rate, it has to work out that way. I'm seeing your thought for
I
you.
don't know, I didn't know if true or not, but
Hormones.
there was
Hormones.
more girls than guys, then you're more likely to have daughters, so
Okay.
it doesn't really matter.
I didn't have an answer for this for years. Believe it, didn't either. One of my former students, though, So the daughters, in their opinion, the daughters aren't creating the divorce.
You're creating the
The
stress.
divorce is creating the daughters. That was an argument given to me by, it was a natural resources major that said ungulate populations, which are hoof like deer and horses and things like that. When their populations get stressed, they just start producing not 50-50 anymore, more like 60-40 or 70-30 producing female versus males. But it's the stress that causes the gender switch, not the gender switch that causes the stress. Isn't that interesting? I have no idea if that's actually what's going on, but that's a pretty good explanation, you know, isn't it? Pretty good explanation. Please!
Okay, so I was thinking that I read, I can't say what it says, fact source, but.
That's okay.
Men speak like at least 2,000 words a day, and women speak like 6,000.
Okay.
I'm thinking the more girls there are, the more they talk.
I've said like 2,000 words in the past 6 minutes. Not Italians. Italians were definitely underrepresented in that study. Hey, I count the hand language. Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make light of it. No, it's good. I would like to know how they collected that data. I would ask to see how that data was collected. That's a very interesting. I like anytime they quantify anything. I love that.
Yeah.
Anytime something's quantified, but then my next question is, how did you quantify it? Yeah, if you can find it, email me the source. I'd love to see it. We can analyze in class. Love to see it. All right, anyway. The last thing I want to leave you with, we have about 5 minutes. This is perfect. We can just wrap it up with this. Is the idea of randomness. Now, there's a phrase I've often heard people say, like, how random, how random. And I realize that sometimes it's not random. It's actually pretty expected. Like, what's the chances of that happening? I'm like, well, it just did, right? So pretty good, you know? So I want to make sure that you understand what randomness truly means. So I'm going to quiz you here first. I'm going to quiz you here. There are 2 targets, one by one. I know it's a little bit skewed because Excel made them skewed. But I threw 30 random darts, and I threw 30 random darts. But one of them is fake. One of them is actually 30 random darts. One of them is actually 30 fake-ish random darts. So I want you to look at both of those and tell me which one you think is the fake. Don't call it out. I want you to look at them, and we're going to vote. We're going to vote. So either the top one is the fake or the bottom one is the fake. All right? Let's close our eyes so we don't bias each other's votes. Close our eyes. Top is the fake. Raise your hand. Okay, put them down. Bottom is the fake. Raise your hand. Wow. Open your eyes. There was like a 10-to-1 difference. 10 times more of you said the top one was the fake and the bottom one was legit. Explain, please. Explain, please. Tell me your name.
Omar.
Omar, go.
So if you look at it like, so 2 examples. First one being golf. Your swing is everything.
Okay.
And so you have it's all, you know, mental memory and repetition. And if you're doing something wrong, you're going to keep doing it wrong. So if you keep slicing the ball and you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep slicing the ball and it's going to keep going that same direction. So
Okay.
that's why if you look at the bottom one and you're throwing the dart, you're doing the same thing. If you're not making adjustments, you're going to be hitting the same
Oh,
spot.
time out, Omar. We're talking apples, oranges. I love what you're saying, but these are random throws. These are this is like the guy walking up and just being like,
Oh, okay. I thought we were
random.
talking.
Oh, brother, no, not trying to hit a bullseye, just throwing it randomly at the bullseye. Thank you for the art. It's good. I didn't know that.
Well,
Didn't know that at all.
because I was
But,
saying, you know, same thing with shooting a gun. You have your same tendency.
gotcha. But if you're just like if you know you can hit the wall, but you're going to be randomly as to where you go.
Okay.
That's okay though. I love what you're saying.
All right.
So why is that fake? Go ahead.
Still though, with what he was saying, if you do, I've actually ranted with some darts at a wall, but if you, with dartboard, but if you throw darts randomly, if you just keep doing it, then your arm does kind of go in the same spot most of the time, and the top ones on the top are so evenly spaced, it's perfect.
Even what do you mean evenly spaced? How dare you?
I'm gonna-
Oh, so in other words, randomness might want to be more clumped like this than evenly spaced. Why? Look at these tiles on the floor. They're nice and evenly spaced.
They're not random.
Yeah.
They're also not laid randomly. Good, good. Tell me your name and tell me what's on your mind. Go ahead.
Cody.
Cody, go.
Well, the top one would make more sense if it was more than 30 darts.
Oh, so I got you. So you would expect these kinds of, okay, so I'm going to jump out of here real quick. You can tell it was the fake, you guys got it. I created an Excel spreadsheet to simulate this experiment. Let's see if you can see the whole thing. There it is. These are 30 random darts using random numbers in Excel. Every time I press F9, it's going to throw 30 more darts. What do you notice that happens every single time I throw 30 darts. What happens? At somewhere in the graph, there are clumps and there are holes. Yes? Clumps, holes, holes. And somewhere in the chart, right? So, as a matter of fact, to create this one over here, what I did was I took the bottom one and opened it up in paint and pulled to make them cover evenly. I did it intentionally to screw it up. Yes, randomness clumps. Randomness clumps. You guys are proof of this. You ready? Birthdays. We'll go with one final example. We'll skip the coins example. We'll do that some other time. Birthdays. I want to call out each month, and I want you to just raise your hand, and then we'll find out what day of the month you were born. January. Who's born in January? Give me days.
25th.
25. 12. 13. February. February. 3rd. 13. 26. My mom's birthday. Very, very cool. Remind me about Johnny Carson in a minute. March. 27. 24. Only 2 March birthdays, you get that close. April 5th. 25th. No, April's over here. May. 11. 18. About a week apart. May. June. 28. 17. 30. 16. Was it 17?
Yeah.
17, 16? 23. What the hell's going on? Did you catch that too? We had like 6 June birthdays, 2 May, 2 April, 2 March, and a glut of February. Interesting how it's not spreading evenly, is it? July's. Let's go to we're into the Roman Emperor month now. July. 13. 30. 28. 30. 7. 20th. August. Only a couple Augusts.
27.
27, 30, 2nd, 27 and 30. September. Do you ever wonder why September is called September? No. 7 is what prefix? 7. But it's the 9th month. Think about that. September. 16. 21st. 16. 3rd. October. The 10th month? October? I don't think so. 21st. 19. 8. 12.
I've just got an answer for you.
You've got an answer for me?
Yeah. You said think about that.
Oh yeah, think about it. You already thought about it.
It's uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, sex, septum, octavo, decad in Latin.
That was a lot of counting, brother.
And 7 month is sept. It's uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, sex, septum.
No, I got it.
So that makes September.
The 7th month.
Yeah.
But it's the 9th month.
But it's the 9th month. But
Well,
then,
because if you go back to the Roman
Didn't they stick February on later?
Empire stuck in July and August, Julius Caesar and Augustus.
Yeah. How about June? Wasn't June one of those 2?
No, June is named after a god, I think.
Yeah.
No, it's one of the J months, regardless
Gotcha.
of which one.
Oh, they stuck in 2. There we go. They stuck in 2.
10 to 12.
Ah, thank you. I didn't know that. Smartphone search away, I guess. But here's what I really want you to think about. Why the hell in a room of, how many people do we have in this room? 40? 40, right? How many people would you have to have in the room to guarantee that at least 2 of us have the exact same birthday? Guarantee.
360.
360, either 6 or 67, correct? Because technically speaking, January 1st could have been born on January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, January 4th. It could happen, right? So to guarantee without a shred of doubt we have a birthday match, we'd have to have 1 more person than the number of days of the year, because then that last person would have to match somebody else in the room. But here's the deal. With 40 people in the room, there's almost a 90% chance we're going to have a birthday match. Even with only 40 people, and we had one. September 16th, wasn't it? Wherever it was, September 16th. And we had a bunch that were within 1 day of each other. So once again, clustering. Why do birthdays cluster? Hell if I know! Oh, you know? I don't know.
I don't know, I just have a theory.
Theory! Go!
It's because most women have their menstrual cycle either the week of the full moon or the week before or after. It's those 2 weeks of the month though.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. So that means we should have pregnancies at the beginning and the end of the month, is that right?
Well,
Oh, the full moon moves around, doesn't it? It does, it moves around. I just learned that. I was like, why is the moon in Broken Top then North Sister? What the hell? Because it moves. Yeah.
To kind of elaborate, and then women who spend a lot of time around each other, their cycles tend to
I've heard that. Like sororities and things like that,
Could
yes.
also lead to the women divorce rate.
Oh! You guys got all kinds of theories there. We're solving the world's problems right here. Thank you. We're going to come back to that birthday problem in a later project because you can simulate it pretty well in Excel. It's a fun math problem. Thank you guys. We'll catch you on Thursday. Yes. What are you going to bring Thursday? Quiz. Quiz. Unless you've already done it. Love it. You guys have fun out there without me in the snow. I'd be pissed I can't be there.